morning. Welcome to the Upfront Mind, Body, Soul podcast, where I am your host, Michelle Bolden Hammond. And listen, you are in for a treat tonight. If you ever thought about hearing about the new thing is peer support, I have two fantastic gentlemen that I have had the honor of knowing. Well, one for a lifetime, I can say. and one as a lifetime, as it feels like a lifetime. Mr. Richard Lewis and Mr. Donielle Davis, welcome to Upfront Mind, Body, and Soul tonight.
Glad to be here.
Glad to be here.
Glad to be here. You know what? I am so happy that you guys are here. And it's going to go back to Richard saying, you need to have some males on. So I called your bluff on it, Richard.
Yes, you did. Yes, you did.
So the males have took out my month this month. Last week, I had Jonas Siya. He is someone who was that's went and volunteered into the Ukraine. And you guys are taking it out for the month. So you count yourself special.
I drink to that. Nice clear water.
So, this new thing, we're hearing a lot more. We know that SAMHSA is looking at more peer recovery, more peer specialists. So, you guys are in the realm of peer specialists. So we're going to tell the audience, even if the audience is looking for someone, these qualifications, you need to know what some of the qualifications are if you're looking to become one. But there's a journey how that these two gentlemen came into this. As you looked at the topic of tonight's show was from the streets to peer. So which one of you want to go first to share your story? Because you got to get that background history of how you got into the realm of where you are today. So which one of you want to choose to go first?
I think Donielle should just jump straight out there
and see how he does. He does that because custom, I always let him go first because he's the oldest out of just elder respect. But like Michelle said, I've known her my entire life. My name is Donielle Davis. Most people that know me as Tinker. I basically grew up just hanging out. Small little detail. Michelle's brother and me are like, we come up from like the cradle. So, we grew up playing basketball. We grew up playing sports. The girls thought we was cute. And all the girls liked the guys who were selling narcotics. So I dove in head first. I would blame peer pressure, but it wasn't for real. I think it was just a longing to want to fit in, to want to be a part of something that made you feel like you were accepted by your community. I think that's one of the things that we run into a lot, even when we're speaking to other peers. Acceptance is like the number one thing. Acceptance overrules accountability because you would rather be accepted than to be accountable. And then that leads you to selling narcotics, then that led me to smoking and drinking and fighting all the time and winning some fights and losing some fights and still thinking that, this was the glamour thing. And eventually it led to incarceration. And while incarcerated, I kind of met a guy I'd heard about for eons, and that was Richard. Richard is, the major reason that I even took this job that I have now. But the main idea of the story is I chose to give my life to the streets, and the streets came calling. Fast forward 25 some odd years later, I choose to give my life to the streets, just in a different aspect. So that's where I am.
All right. And you just said one key thing, acceptance and accountability, because we know that in that realm, there's accountability because the accountability is, whether survival, because I'm wrapped up in it. You know what I mean? So, that right there, accountability. And we know the story, how some of it can end, it's either jail time.
I was fortunate. I was fortunate because I didn't lose my life, You know, I
Right.
was able to. I've been in recovery for 26 years. I was able to escape the monkey that's still been on the back of people that I've known since I was kids that I looked up to. So I was
Right.
one of the fortunate ones, and that's a blessing within itself.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. So, Richard, can you tell us some more about it? We have people coming in too. We have hello, Charlene, and actually, Charlene is a nursologist in Baltimore City. And Shavana Guy said, "Congratulations."
Hey, dog,
Thank
baby.
you. Thank you. Well, for me, I got into this a few years back. Uh, I was living in Cambridge after getting out of prison. I ran into a guy that I knew through my brother, who, matter of fact, named Donielle, who was running the drug program out of Cambridge Health Department. And he said he might got something for me. I'm like, what are you talking about? And he said, man, I got a peer support position. And back then, it wasn't even called peer support. We was called CHALS, Community Health Outreach Workers.
Oh,
So,
wow.
but before that, man, I had just came home from doing a stint like 4 years. But before that, I had been home maybe like 5 years from coming home from doing 10 years, 9 months, and 27 days. Uh, like Donielle said, we was in the streets. You know what I'm saying? I never really had a problem with using drugs too much. I just had a problem with the lifestyle, the money, chasing the women, the cars, and something that I didn't learn until I got out of prison is that I had a thing where I wanted to be liked. So the bigger that I became as a drug dealer, the more people, the lights were shining on me, and I was so called the man, whatever you want to say.
Yep.
Have a little nickname, Big Dog, this and that, and was running around like I could do whatever I wanted to do, and it cost me because I ended up with uh, 25 years, first 20 no parole, a drug kingpin conviction. I
Hmm.
had one of the first drug kingpin convictions on the Eastern Shore. It wasn't but a couple of us, and I was one of them. Was I a drug kingpin? No, I was not a drug kingpin. I think it's foolish to think that you on the Eastern Shore that you really a drug. I'm from Chestertown. There's 3,000 people in Chestertown. I
Touchdown,
mean,
Merle.
there's no way possible I'm a drug kingpin. But I mean, when I look at it now, uh, I don't blame the people who was doing what they did to put me in prison because man, I was out there running around like my mind was going bad. You know what I'm saying? And everything just turned full circle. Uh, I ended up started working with the health department in Dorchester County, and I was like, I met a guy named Mr. P, and Mr. P said, "Man, you gonna be all right in this position." I'm like, "Man, Mr. Pernell Flamer." I said, "Why is they paying us?" He said, "Man, they gonna pay you for what you know, your lived experience." I said, "Man, these people ain't gonna give me no money. I mean, I don't even know what to write on the paper." So I was working at this place called Dry Dock in Cambridge, and working for the health department. So when people would come in, I figured like the clients would come in, I would have to write something down. You know what I'm saying? What we talked about, whatever. So it turned it into our supervisors. And I looked at Mr. P and said, "Why you ain't never got nothing on your paper?" He said, "Because it ain't none of their business what I tell them." I was like, "Huh?" I'm like, "This is between us." You know what I'm saying? So this is like a job that anybody who has lived experience can get into that has mental health issues, addiction problems, any type of forensic things. If you've been locked up before, I'm not gonna say it's for everybody because you got to go through a big process of change, and you got to go through a lot of classes. You got to take a lot of courses. They just not gonna just give you these positions just because you actually have to be able to change because you have to be able to touch somebody's life, so they actually can see what you're doing, and maybe they can make a difference. Like now, I work for Eastern Shore Crisis Response, uh, which is basically mobile crisis. I also work at Eastern Shore Hospital. I'm a peer there. So I I came a long way in this peer thing, you know what I'm saying? And I am a certified peer recovery specialist. I got that paperwork to say that from the state of Maryland. I couldn't do that. So uh, it is something that's big, like Michelle had mentioned about SAMHSA. They throwing money all over the place. The state of Maryland now, starting in January, if you are a certified peer, you actually can charge if you're working under a licensed clinician or somebody. I think it's like $17.50 every 15 minutes. So me and Donielle, really, we do it for free. Like tomorrow night, we'll be at King County Detention Center. We go out there and talk to the guys. Just, the first step is change. Because if you ain't willing to change and work on yourself, all that other stuff, worrying about your girlfriend, worrying about your kids, your babies, and all that stuff like that, it ain't gonna matter. It ain't gonna matter at all.
See, and I love this. See, this is why I love you guys. And Tinker, look, I'm saying Tinker. I'm sorry, Donielle.
Come on.
And look,
call me the same thing in a minute. So
look, and one thing I like about Richard said he's called me the big dog. Well, a lot of people, I don't know if I can say your surname here, big fella, but
yes, you can call me big fella. She's looking.
Big fella. I know sis. Look, I know sis in the background watching. So, but yeah, I know she got big fella. But one thing I like about this is because you said child. Community health outreach worker. That is one of the realms that I got certified in as a child as well. Took the class and just, but it all concept in the world with me now. Now I can say my MS clinical mental health status of addictions. Hey.
Yes, I will be getting at you pretty soon.
Okay. So yeah, okay. That's a pin there. But when you say about billing, some people think that it's going to take away from the fee for service, but I disagree with that. Everything is going to be helpful for fee for service. You'll be able to charge these billable because again, the work in peer support and peer, you're not going to get paid enough because you're dealing with a whole lot with folks. I see it. We're in through the realm of where I work. It's not enough. Not enough workers in this field. So with life experiences, and like I said, I congratulate you guys for going back in the community. But also what I like to say is because when guys get out, I can't find no job. But you guys got state jobs with benefits and had charges. And I'm like, charges. But see, this is how you have to make the change if you really, really want something and go after it. So I commend you with that. State jobs. Absolutely. See, they overlook what they put on that paper couldn't stop you to where you are today.
Yeah, you can get it. I mean, I had like four separate jobs with the state of Maryland. You know what I'm saying? And so you can definitely do it. Like I said, you got to want to change and you got to want to do something different. I mean, I tell the guys out to the jail all the time that when they hear those cliches about changing people, places, and things, man, that stuff is real. They just didn't come up with that for no reason. You know what I'm saying? And you got to do it. And if you don't do it, you're going to end up back in them same circles. You go to a barbershop over and over and over again, you're going to get a haircut. So if you keep hanging with them same dudes that's not doing nothing, you ain't going to end up doing nothing. Then you're going to, man, I'm caught up again. I only did such and such. Nah, had you not been there, it wouldn't have never happened in the first place. You know what I'm saying?
Yep.
You are so absolutely right. Yeah, you talking to that's the motto that I say all the time. You guilty. We're gonna talk about that, but we're gonna take a quick break. Right, we're gonna come back because you hold it. I want people to go get your tea, go get your vanilla wafers or some of your Christmas cookies because we're gonna take a quick break and we're gonna hear more from these two gentlemen. Okay.
last week. And went to the Ukraine. That's awesome.
All right. Welcome back to the Upfront Mind, Body, and Soul, where I'm your host, Michelle Bolden Hammond. And listen, we have some phenomenal guests. My brothers here, Richard Lewis and Donielle Davis, are here. They're talking about from the streets, now in the streets, doing the work of the community as peer specialists. So, Richard, when you name different topics of the areas of that you specialize in peer support recovery, can you tell the audience those different areas again?
Well, I think for me, my passion is forensics, working with guys in and out of the institution. I also do addictions. I work at a mental health hospital. I work for mobile crisis, so that's a lot of mental health things. I also do family peer support. I talk to kids. I even been trying to get dabbling into gambling, peer support for gamblers. That's with Maryland going on live. I figured I might as well get ready, set that up, get on top of that too. With peer support, like I said, my passion is more or less working with guys in and out of institutions because all I see mostly is guys that look like me coming in our institutions that didn't get their break, or I just try to help them change their mindset as far as, you know, I know for myself, I used to blame everybody else reason why I was in there, but yet I was on all the crack on Eastern Shore, Upper Eastern Shore, like Richard. They wasn't fooling with that guy, and they wasn't chasing that guy because they wasn't selling crack. You know what I'm saying? So it took me a while to look at the part I played in. I blamed the police. I blamed family, friends. Why would this and that, man? You gotta look at what you part that you played in the situation and come to grips with it and decide, man. Some of the times the people are just doing the job. You know what I'm saying? Of course, a lot of things in with the courts with blacks and brown people is not equal. Definitely not equal. But if you keep yourself out of those situations, you ain't gotta worry about it because you ain't gonna win food with them folks. No kind of way.
No, you're absolutely right about that. We know. I actually, was voting time going around. I was at the American Legion because I'm a member of the American Legion, and we had one of the guys who is supposed to be taking over Talbot County's as a state's attorney's office. And I asked a question because what I see in the county that I live in, when you look at the possibilities of drug courts, what ethnicity gets more of the levels of drug courts than, during that time. And I know because I specifically have met family members that this was never offered and never offered. So I like the part where you are doing the peer support for the recidivism of going back and forth to institutions, because I think that's also need to be something enlisted into when people upon release, because if I don't have that shipping, it's just like I don't have that map of questions or whatever else to get out of here. What am I going to do? And I like the fact that you two guys are coming together to actually break down those barriers, because those are some barriers. Those are some of the barriers that I see here. And one thing I like the fact too, Richard, what you said as well is the part about the gambling. Oh, it's going to get worse now that you got this online betting. So and it makes you wonder, because you have this online betting. Was this set up because now all this money is going into counties to fight gambling addictions and stuff? And then gambling, substance, all of those type of things are realms of where a peer support role can come in. Now, Donielle, your role in peer support, and what is your arena that you're in?
Similar to Richard, my passion is also forensic support. That's what basically pushed me into the profession right now. I just wanted to be able to go into these institutions and just affect change. Because like Richard said, so often than not, they tend to look like us. I'm the Caroline County Safe Station peer. So more often times than not, I've been in the problem solving courts. So I see a direct lineage of people who look like me getting the same thing they've always gotten. And times may have changed, but the attitude and how they attack sentencing has not. I mean, we all grew up, we were born in the 70s, except for late 60s, early 70s. And one thing is still hasn't changed, and it's still paramount. Black and brown people are criminalized for narcotics, and that's what you see. And my passion is really to delineate that all the way, because all I see, and I really had an up close and personal opportunity to see it, because I was involved when the safe station just went cold and no cases were coming. And when I was going into these courts or having conversations with the problem solving court coordinator, we were recognizing that it was so close to election that everybody was going to jail. So I'm like, so now that you've been appropriated all of this money for opioids and opioid addiction, the quote unquote purple syndrome, all this money's been allocated to you, but you're not using any of it because you're sending everybody to jail. So basically, where's the money going and who's going to jail? Well, you know who's going to jail, because more oftentimes than not, we'll be viewed as the dealer, and little Johnny and Jimmy will be viewed as the user. And oh my God, we have to protect this community, this right to consumer, so to speak. So they continue to lock us up, and it's a perpetual thing that continues to happen, and everybody sees it. But it's the nod, wink, wink. And one of the things that Richard and I consistently tell these guys in prison is, if this is where you want to be, then go for it. Yeah, hard but true. If you want to be incarcerated, if you want to be locked up, if you want to be in the jail, then dude, just tell them keep your bed ready. Don't even unmake it. Don't even break your mattress down. And this is what you want to do. We're not in a position to tell you what to do or what not to do. What we're in a position to do is just share our experiences, the lived experiences rather, and see if you can take some mental notes from it. I mean, hey, nobody wrote the book on lessening on recidivism and lessening the rates. Because if we all wrote a book on it, then it would work and nobody would be in prison. But that's just not the case. So all that to say that, yeah, my passion is being a forensic peer. I like being in the prisons. I like being in the jails. I like being able to tell someone that you can make it. You know, Richard had talked about the state jobs, and this is my second state job, because my first state job was with the state of Delaware. And the one thing I've recognized more than anything is we've been consistently told what we can't do because we're felons. So we're breaking that stigma just from showing our face.
Yeah.
If you're a felon, you can't get a job. Well, you can get a job. If you're a felon, you can't get a good job. Well, you can get a great job. If you're a felon where you can't get a house, I just bought my second one. So there is no limits to what you can't do, but so often than not, it's systematically constructed. So that's not the case at all. They don't even show that image. They want the image of DeQuantes and DeMario on 11 o'clock news with murder and all of that. Why they just sweep the meth houses under the rug. And it's sad to say that it's still a racial component to it, but it just is. I mean, none of us are blind to the fact. That's just what it is. So I think that in the grander scheme of things, Richard and I are just trying to do our part to just change the narrative. And I guess I'll stop talking with this. You know, so often and more often times than not, I wanted to change the system. And then one day I woke up and said, since I can't change the system, I'll just create a system. And that's what we do. We waste time trying to change a system that is just impossible to do. So if we just create our own systems, then we don't have to worry about said system. And we can just promote, and we can just push and promote our own communities instead of waiting on somebody else to do
it. Woo, you got me silent on that one. Woo, got me silent on that one. So we got a couple comments coming in. We got Shanice Rochester that says, good evening. Shelly Bolden says, exactly. Lisa D. Wilson says, good evening, everyone. Delisa Bolden says, hi, everyone. Herbert Dennis, great job. Telling the truth. Warden Dennis, I had them laughing one time. I don't want to go to your jail because woo, that time I came over there, I had anxiety going through there. You can't get in there unless you got everything over there. So, you know, for those who are just tuning in, thank you guys so much. But again, this is what Upfront Mind, Body, and Soul. You got inspiring stories. And because that's one of the lines that the guys always say, I can't find a job because I'm a felon. I can't do this. But you got to move and motivate. If you, like you said, if you can't change the system, you make up your own system.
Absolutely.
That's where you have to become an entrepreneur. And that's one of the things, Donielle, that you also are. You also are an entrepreneur as well.
Yep.
You want to share some of that?
Oh yeah. Well, me and my wife own From Rust to Gold, and we just sell Christian themed clothing, hoodies and tees. I'm also, like Richard, I'm a consultant. So I figured the one good thing out about my whole entire time of incarceration, I could sell something. So once I knew I could sell something, I just had to figure out what my niche was and how I could sell it. So now instead of wearing Coke, I wear shirts. To put in, and I put them in packages and I mail them off. So I use that. I mean, for real, I used the same principles that I used from selling narcotics to selling hoodies and t-shirts. I use the same marketing strategy. I know where to put them. I know who to put them on. I know how to sell them, because at the end of the day, it wasn't any need for me to go through all of this and not learn a lesson with it.
That's it. That's it. Yep. And future with you, Richard, consulting. I know the madam is in the back. I know them brains is turning in the back. Because behind the good man stands the good woman. So.
Absolutely.
So I know that consulting is coming in the rears. I already know that. So you want to share a little bit more on that?
Yeah, I had started R.A. Lewis Consulting. It's basically I consult on all different forms of peer support. I actually really started it before COVID, but when COVID hit, it pretty much shut everything down. And now that things are opening up more opportunities to see people to get out and do different things. We just left a meeting today with State's Attorney in Kent County. Who else was it? Minari's Dream Alliance, Kent County Detention Center. Mr. Warden Dennis was there with us. So doing consulting with peer support, it's a broad range of things you can do, you know what I'm saying? And like you was talking about earlier about finding jobs and about SAMHSA, this and that, and Donielle was saying something about the Go on Purple, because when we was coming through, they wasn't throwing money at us. They was building more jails and giving us time like our mind was going bad. Now that little Johnny's getting high, everybody wants to go purple with this opioid thing. They got drug courts. They got all this and that. We ain't had no drug courts. They was giving guys, when I was coming through 25 years for one rock of crack. And now you can go to jail, you get treatment 10, 15 times. Who's paying for that? Who's paying for these guys to go to treatment? We are. You know what I'm saying? And I'm not saying that people shouldn't get treatment, but when it comes to that Go on Purple stuff, I let them know how I feel. Like, you wasn't giving my brothers the same opportunities that you was giving others that we was coming through. You was building jails, and you was handing out 20, 30, 40, 50 years for simple drug charges with nobody being hurt. Now, with this opioid thing and people is dying, these same folks that was handling at the time, they the ones that made these man-made opioids, this fentanyl and all that stuff like that. They the ones that built that. We ain't do it. You ain't no fentanyl labs in the black community. We ain't had none of that. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
We only have labs in our community.
Yeah, and it's a shame that it's definitely a shame that people are dying. You know what I'm saying? But the game when we was in it, and I tell the guys at the detention center all the time, man, to be out there now, to be out there hustling, because one of the things that I do, when I talk to the men in the prisons, in the jail, I try to tell them, I'm not going to tell you what not to do. You a grown man, you can make any kind of decision you want. But for you to go out there and sell somebody a bag of drugs for $20 and knowing that might be the last time that they live, you got something wrong with you. When I was hustling, my job was to make sure they come back. I didn't want them dying. You out here selling this stuff with this fentanyl in it, You need to go to jail. All of y'all need to be sitting here because you're killing people. We was out there doing what we was doing. We was hustling, we was doing whatever. Man, we wasn't out there trying to make sure nobody died. This stuff that's out here now is dangerous.
Yeah, yeah.
I
I see it.
had a friend that just passed away this week. I've had several friends that have passed away and overdose. Man, it is sad.
It's taking them out.
So it takes them out. So my job, I can't, man. I just want to try to get back and just tell people, man, you can do what you want to do. These, like Donielle said, we can't change the system, but we can use the system. We can use the same money they're putting in, man. We can make them get that money back to us.
Yeah.
So all that stuff like you can't get no job. I didn't turn down jobs making $45,000, $50,000 a year because I don't think I can do something better. You know what I'm saying? I mean, that ain't no whole lot of, but that's decent money for around here. You know what I'm saying? For somebody who's been to prison for 15 years. So if you want to change though, man, you can do it. You can definitely do it. And this is the field to get in. If you're struggling with something and you are passionate about really giving back and helping somebody, man, just hit me up. I can put you on. I put Donielle on as soon as the first person I thought of. I was like, man, look, I got a gig for you. And he done grown so much since the first time I tried to put him on to something. And hey, we do everything together. You know what I'm saying? Our job is to bring somebody with you and make that wall stronger.
Yes. So we got some comments. This is a really hot show tonight. I'm loving all of this
what you
tonight.
expect? You got two hot dudes on here. What you expect?
I am loving it. So look, somebody's honey on said, that's right. That's Miss Teresa Davis. Lisa Doug Washington. Hey, Lisa. She said, very inspiring story as a gentleman. I'm going to forward you guys to her as well. Shelly Bolden says, speak on it, fellas. Lisa Hitch says, you two men with God, all things are possible. Keep on keeping on. Very proud of you both.
Go ahead, sister. That's your neighbor down the street.
Jessica says she's giving hearts. And Lisa Dove says a powerful way of paying it forward. And KGB, hey, and she said yes. And it's what Donielle, a couple weeks ago, a situation came up and they said, oh, Donielle will come and get him right away. Donielle, let's call Donielle. They said he'll be here in a minute. Take them where they need to go.
I tries my hardest, One of the things that we pride ourselves on being is available. I'm going to go back to a quick prison story. So I was kind of a knucklehead when we were locked up. And I had smarter individuals than I was. One of the greatest things that was ever convinced is I remember I'm sitting at the poker table. True story. I'm at the poker table. Me, a couple other dudes in Black Bull, and at the time they was trying to introduce. Basically, the Purdue family had put together a grant for people to go to college, to go to UMES down ECI. I'm just coming off lockup. So I'm like, man, I might as well. What the heck? We always trying to go. It started with College of the Air, didn't it, Richard? College of the Air.
Yeah, College of the Air.
They wouldn't let Big Dog go because he was too old. That's crazy. And so I was able to take advantage of that and walk out of ECI with a bachelor's degree from the University of Maryland Eastern Shore. I say that to say this. Not to be braggadocious or not because it really doesn't mean anything. I can't use this piece of paper right now, but I got it. So I say that to say, regardless where you are, if you're adept to change and that's what you want to do, you're going to do it. You know what I mean? Richard had talked about how we lost a homeboy this week. You know what I mean? It took me days to wrap my mind around that because his last words to me was, Tink, you worry too much. Tink, you worry too much. I always want to be in a position where I'm worried about my people. I want to be concerned about my people because I've seen so many of my people just locked up with a boatload of time and probably should have been home the day they got sentenced. And that is the issue that I think Richard was trying to address, especially when it comes to the lack of diversity in how they treat narcotics. depending on what color the narcotic and what color the person with the narcotic.
Yeah, that's
And
true.
you know, when you speak this, sometimes people think that you're being pro something. Yeah, I'm being pro humanity. I don't have to be pro black to tell you that it's a disproportionate amount of black folks locked up for drugs. You can see it. You can see it. We got the largest population of prison in the world, and over 65% of them are black males. That's a problem. When more than half of them should be in a rehab somewhere,
Right.
or getting mental health that they never received.
That's
Exactly.
it. Definitely getting them. Definitely getting that mental health treatment that they need.
That's the key thing. That's the key thing, because you're gonna deal with PTSD.
What?
You're gonna build with PTSD once you come out of that as well. And you know, no one sets that up neither, you know, for that. I want you guys to know, I'm telling you, this is hot. I ain't even took no breaks. So I ain't even really took no breaks tonight. But let me tell you this. So what's happening is that guys are being offered to go on the nurses lounge by my sister friend Charlene Hermana. Let me tell you something. She hangs with Brandon Mayer Scott, because you know God has placed me and given me the gift to be in realms around certain places where I don't know where these feet will go. But like you said, it's about to bring other people with you. And see, this is what this platform is. So she's saying that she wants to welcome you guys on the Nurses Lounge, and I'll get all that hooked up between you guys. Consuela Bolden says, very good show. I had someone else saying, you know, this is a powerful way of paying it back forward. This is, I usually take breaks, but I can't even take breaks because I want to hear all about, you know, this realm and field, you know, with this peer support. I actually did a class with the peer support recovery too, as well, at Eastern Shore Hospital. But what are some of you guys' responsibilities? So one of you, whoever can go off first with that, or you want to one take one question, the other one take the other question. So how do you
want?
Well, as far as like the training requirements, they got 4 domains, and they are ethics, advocacy, mentoring, education, and wellness and recovery. You need 16 hours of ethics. You need 10 hours of advocacy, 10 hours of mentoring, education, and 10 hours of wellness and recovery. And you have to take these through different trainings. They have certain core trainings you have to have at least one core training. And I took the C-card training, and that's what I think Donielle took the C-card training. So there's a lot of different trainings to get. There's work and volunteer requirements. You have to have 500 hours of work requirements with an organization that you working or volunteering, and you also got to work under a certified peer supervisor. So you can pick up supervision hours in ethics, advocacy, mentoring, education, wellness and recovery, and general supervision for self-care. Self-care is very important. Self-care is very, very important because while you're out there helping others, you still also got to take care of yourself.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? That's the most important, because that's one of the reasons why I had to leave the health department, because addictions was stressing. It was stressing me out. Taking the same people to treatment 3 and 4 times over and over again. And quick story: I had a guy. I went to Dorchester County Detention Center, picked him up, took him to rehab in Baltimore on Penn North, and he gets there. He had just got out of a rehab. He lied his way out. They locked him up, sent him back to jail. He gets out. I mean, this is all within a 2-week span. He gets to go to another rehab. So I take him there, but he doesn't have any clothes. So my boss allows his girlfriend to bring him some clothes. So she brings him a bag. I take him to the new rehab. And just so happens when he gets there, the director's not going to let him in. He said, man, you just got kicked out of a rehab last week. But one of his staff walks out, and she just happened to know me and ran up and gave me a hug. Big Dad, what you doing way over here? What you doing in Baltimore? Said I was dropping a guy off of treatment. And her supervisor looked at her and said, just because she knows him, I'm gonna allow you to go to this treatment.
Yeah.
And guess what? He OD'd that night at that treatment center.
Wow.
Because he had his girlfriend bring him some clothes that he knew had some drugs in it. So the next day I had to go all the way back to Baltimore to get him, pick him up. I'm thinking I'm taking him back to jail. Do you not know they had me taking him out with it to a crisis bed? Had that been me, you, Donielle, somebody else, we would have went back to jail. Mind you, I just picked him up from jail the day before. And he ODs at another rehab. And I ended up taking, and I was like, I can't do this no more. I can't just keep doing this and seeing the same stuff, this cycle. I'm like, this dude's crazy. Yeah. I said, a lot of people with addiction problems that keep going to rehab over and over and over and over again, they probably can teach the classes. A lot of them think they're the smartest person in the room. You know what I'm saying? When you got a person that think they're the smartest person in the room, a lot of them dudes end up dead.
Yeah.
Because you can't tell them nothing. You know what I'm saying? What is it that you're not getting that you've been to treatment 7, 8, 9, 10, 11 times? Because they're telling you the same stuff over and over and over again.
Over and over.
It ain't like
doesn't change.
The curriculum don't change. It ain't like it's some new stuff.
Does not change.
So it's something that they haven't dealt with. 9 times out of 10, it's something to do with mental health, some childhood trauma that they never dealt with and are scared to deal with, or when their counselors try to deal with it, they back off it because it's too much hurt and they don't want to deal with it. You know, I've seen that a lot. You know, people don't know, man. Prisons, ECI, prisons itself is one of the biggest mental health institutions in the country. When they call 4 o'clock in the morning, you should see them people running. They go and get they're getting their meds, or they're getting some type of HIV medicine, diabetic medicine. Majority of them is getting mental health meds, you know, and they're not getting the treatment they need
at all.
You know, but I jumped way off topic from
No, it's good.
Where we was talking about the things you need for it's really not hard to do, because there's so many organizations now that will pay for you to do trainings. You just got to get on different mailing lists or whatever when they offer trainings. You can do a lot of them at home, and it's kind of tedious. And they've made it easier where now you can just upload your trainings, you can upload different stuff right online. Before, you just had to put this whole packet together and mail it, and it was a nuisance. But they've made it a lot streamlined, and made it a lot easier. And the people that you work with that's doing this with the MAB, PCB, they good people, man. They'll get at you. Most of the people that I've known since I've been in some of these trainings, and we still friends, you know. Yeah. And they will, if you hit them up, most of the people that are the peer support specialists, man, they will get at you on anything, questions you had. If you need some help somewhere, somebody's gonna know somebody that can help you where you at.
So, Donielle, for the next question, I'm going to ask, like, for our viewers who are watching, if you know any family member, you know, that might be looking into peer support, can you share what are some of the benefits if those are dealing with any of those arenas, like you said, mental health, addictions, forensic? If you were the peer support, what are the benefits of having the peer support?
The greatest benefit of having the peer support is exactly what it is. It's a support system of someone with lived experience. So we can identify, or have someone that can identify what's going on with you. You know, one of the things that I did is we had another guy who was incarcerated with, Mello, you know, and he went through all of these trainings. And I said, you would be perfect for peer support. And we got him a job with Eastern Shore Crisis Response down Salisbury. And one of the things that I was able to tell him was that you can take your lived experience, not just your lived experience on the streets, but you can pinpoint back to when something was wrong in your family, the family dynamic, because everything has a root. So I want to tell people, if you're getting into this business, this is going to be something that helps you more than you probably help the next person. Because a lot of times you discover things like Richard talked about earlier, and we both talked about like being accepted. We discovered that from life experiences. When I'm dealing with people, sometimes I can see myself. I take a mental check note. That's a mental issue that I have to help get resolved. That's something I may need to pursue therapy about. That's something that I may need to talk to, Richard about, because he's a certified peer. I'm praying I'll be January, but that's just the nature of the beast. I want people to know when they're coming into this line of work that you can be effective just from being who you are. He talks all the time about, we talk all the time. When me, him, and another one of our friends get together, we went and spoke at Jude House a while ago, and it was 4 of us, and we had over 100 years of incarceration sitting there. You understand what I'm saying? So the things that you have seen and been through, we've seen and we've been through. And we've all been on this side of the wall, so we can give you a different type of experience. So I can show you that, I come from where you come from, and this is where you can go. But you have to be able to deal with said issues. And the people that come into this have to know that sometimes you're going to come in contact with situations that may channel different kind of emotions within you. And you got to be strong. Strong. This is not a job for the weak. It's really not. Especially when you're dealing with addictions, or when you're dealing with mental illness, and you may have had some mental trauma and or some addiction. It's not for the faint of heart.
And you said one key thing to Donielle, both of you guys. Again, I commend you, and I am so proud of you guys in this.
I'm proud of you too. Yeah, absolutely.
I definitely am, because I really am. I really am. We could take this show on the road. I need some peer support. So.
I got you.
So, but there are challenges, especially when you're in this field of helping people. And one of the things is the characteristic, because they know when you fake. They know absolutely when you're fake. So you like you said, you coming as you are. And I think, like my grandmother used to say, people will respect you more if you tell them the truth. They might not like it all the way, but something's gonna sink down the line and hook them to remember that conversation or something about being the truth. And everything that you lead into it, you have life experience. And then one thing that's key good to you, you can tell when somebody giving you the lie too. You can smell it. You can smell it. You can smell it. It's so many stories that, man, I should put that in a book. So many stories of what I hear on day to day. I missed my appointment because every time my appointment, I'm in the ICU. Come on, every time. Every time I'm in the ICU.
We've seen it. We believe it.
Yeah. Or, you hear these kind of things. I'm in the ICU every time it's my appointment. That's why I missed my appointment. But that's where the role of the peer support comes in. Well, we're going to get you here to your appointment, So what's the challenge now? Or my organs are shutting down, but you standing right up here with me talking, kidney failure going on, which it may be, but constantly, every time it's an appointment, you got something going on. Nah, but you can smell it. You know when it is, and that's a good key eye because of life. Because we used to hustle. You know what I'm saying? You used to hustle. You know the hustle. You know the game. You know what it is. All of that. So that's a good thing. Any challenges that you face, and I know one, money is one. is money. And I have some more people with comments. Got my sis down in Virginia saying meet them where they are. And that is so true. You meet the people
Absolutely.
where they are. And that's it. Are you willing to go in the woods? Are you willing to are you willing to do that Narcan training, or all of that type of stuff? Are you willing? One of the things that I want to see in this peer support thing too, when Richard, you said something about families, and I'm working on this, because a lot of the families don't understand the roles of addiction or mental health, because it's driving them to, they can't really understand. But there needs to be a support group for them as well, to understand, even going through that person with addiction, because to them it's a behavior that you can't even understand why that this person is going to that, why somebody want to live out in the woods, or they want to live this place, or but there needs to be some support also for the families. And I think too, that's another realm of arena that the family, that peer support can go into as well.
Absolutely. Especially with that family, and when you go to jail, it took me a while to understand that it's not fair for me to make my family do the time with me. You know what I'm saying? A lot of guys go to jail thinking they should call home all the time, asking people for money. Can they do this and that? Can you get such and such? Send, especially people that's in jail that's getting high, getting your people to send such and such some money so they can get a score package while they're in there and continue to get high and stuff like that. You can't. I tell the guys, man, you can't make your family do the time with you. That's not fair. You did what you did to get in here, and then you still putting pressure on them while you locked up instead of working on yourself, trying to get yourself together. You making them do time. They give you 5 years. You got them doing 5 years day for day with you. Then when you get out, I can't even think of the word that I'm looking for, because a lot of families do that, where they constantly give people money, and they try to make it. We try to make our family feel bad if they ain't helping us out and this and that.
Yeah.
It it ain't right, man. And for me, I try to be as real as I can with the guys, and I tell them all the time, man, you have to get yourself straight, man. You can't be worrying about your girlfriend. You can't be worrying about the kids you left. You can't be worrying about none of that until you put yourself on a path and get yourself together. Had I been worrying about what my girl was doing, I shouldn't have been breaking law and shouldn't have got locked up. Or if I was worrying about who was where my kids was, or whether they was going to school with this and that, I shouldn't have been out there doing what I was doing and got locked up. I should have been home raising my kids. You know what I'm saying? And if some of the guys that look at the same ones over and over again, I mean, like, look, you can run back there and get on the phone and tell Shorty this and that, and that don't mean like you got to start working on yourself today. Right. Not 2 days before they tell you're ready to get released, and you ain't even got a birth certificate. You ain't got nothing. Then you coming home wondering why you can't get no job, and you ain't got no ID. You ain't got no birth certificate, Social Security card, all the stuff that you should have been had before you came home. But if that's what you want to do,
right,
do that. You know what I'm saying? Do that.
Right. And Shelley Bolin says enabler. Is that the word that you was looking for?
That's the word. I don't know why I couldn't even get that. On the tip of my mind, like, why can't I think of enabler? Why can't I think of enabler?
That's right, Eastern High School. That's right, Eastern High School. Come through.
Come through. Davon Teet says he's giving 100 and thumbs up. So, this has been a hot show. We're going to have to do a part 2. We're going to have to do a part 2 to this. The hour is almost up. We have 5 minutes left.
Teet's on. Devon Teet's on. That's my homeboy.
Yeah. He
Yeah,
watching.
that's
He
my
watching.
homeboy. That's my homeboy. We go.
Yeah.
I known him since he was a young chap.
You know, there's a
Young
knee
chap.
tied to a grasshopper.
Yes. When I was running, see, he was still real young when I was running around with my head cut off. He know.
Okay. Okay.
He know.
Well, that's it. You shared your story, but now look at your story now. You once was in the streets, but now you're in the street making change. And I see y'all guys. I see y'all guys taking down this whole Eastern Shore, storming it with some ideas. I'll
Not
tell you,
bad.
That's the plan.
Not bad.
I don't know if Warden Dennis is still on there. I don't know. I had to bring y'all with me to go to that jail, man. I got to that door. I said, good God.
True
You
story,
got it
sis.
clink over there.
The very first time I went, because we went in Kent County Jail for the first time together. I had so much anxiety. I had been out of prison
Yeah.
at that time around almost 10 years. And that's the first time I walked back to hear the boom boom. And he's sitting there laughing at me. I'm like, man, you supposed to be my homeboy. You laughing. I was going through anxiety. And I could literally smell. And it's a smell that you'll never forget. And it smelled just so familiar. And the very first thing I thought is, if I'm going to come back in here, this is the way I'm coming.
Right.
Facts.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
Facts.
Won't be with no handcuffs on. You better know that.
Now my handcuff days is over with.
Handcuff days are over with.
In all aspects.
All aspects. All aspects. I'll tell you.
My wife can't even have an idea. In all aspects, it's over.
All right, Teresa, you hear that? You hear that?
We ain't doing nothing.
Well, I want to say I am proud of you guys. I'm looking to work with you guys. So yeah. Oh, Shell Bell here working on some stuff too.
All Lil's Consulting is open for business.
Okay. Okay, so yeah, old girl here work ready. So Teresa says, "Boy, time for you to come off the screen now." She said, "Well, I just want to say you guys have blessed this show tonight, and hope you audience who have been tuning in tonight. It was really good because I had some commercials playing. I did one, and I'm like, we got to feel this, get this thing. With the holiday coming on, I thank you guys for taking time out tonight. And look, and Charlene says, enjoy this and looking forward to part 2. So yeah, I will have you back on the next season. I might have you guys open up on some new projects and stuff, and maybe we can team up and do something together in the form of like a peer night or whatever else. So I'm game. I have ideas. You know that.
Mm-hmm. I'm with it.
So one last thing, each one of you individual, for that family member who may be watching or someone who catch this replay, what would you say to them in reaching out to you guys for peer support? And Richard, I'll start with you since you're the oldest.
If you ready to change, man, I'm here to help. You know what I'm saying? Because peer support is not enabling. That's that word again. We're just here to put you in the right path so you can do what you need to do. Because my journey doesn't have to be your journey. Just because I did it a certain way doesn't mean it's going to work for you. You got to do what's best for you, but you got to want to change first.
And as far as
Donielle, it's your turn.
And as far as Donielle Lamont Davis, accountability. Before you decide to even enter into a spectrum or a sphere of change, you got to be accountable. And that is, you have to understand that something is wrong and you need help. That's just it. You just have to admit it. One of our big words is just accountability. You have to be accountable with every decision that you make and accept said consequence. And if you're ready to change, you'll be accountable to do the right things. And if you aren't, then you have to be accountable to whatever else you face.
Well, we got some last minute comments. I do want to read these comments. So Charlene says, Enjoy this and looking forward to part 2. And I will connect you guys with Charlene. Charlene, I will give them your number for you guys to set up to go on her nurses lounge. I think she's out there on Liberty Road in Baltimore. Shelly says very informative, and you guys will be a blessing to so many. Part 2. And Charlene says you guys are just what the nurses need, support. And Roxanne said many blessings and looking forward to part 2.
Hey.
So yeah, so everyone, you have heard it here again. Thank you, Richard and Donielle, for joining in tonight. And for those next week, let me tell you, we starting out December with some, I gotta pull in a celebrity every now and then. So next week,
just add 2 celebrities. What you mean every now and then? Just add 2 of them.
Well, you're right, but I have some top of the line who's in the fashion. I have eyewear Rocky, who does lenses for the entertainers like Kim Wiley, George Lopez. She will be featured here with us next week. I'm excited about that. I'm just excited.
Glasses, baby.
So I'll be wearing my special ones that she did for me next week. So tune in next week and then I also will be announcing my December, because as you all know, on Monday I released Glorified Season, which is a Christmas holiday song, but there will be a Glorified Season challenge. Like, look, everybody want to do the Cuff It. I want to see some families do the Glorified Season challenge. So that, that's it for the holiday. But I, again, thank you guys so much. And as my motto, as I always say when we leave this show, if you have not been feeling like you're loved, just know that you are loved here on the Upfront Mind, Body, and Soul.
Podcast out of Baltimore.